Hey guys, this is Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we're back with another Michigan recruiting report. Today, we're going to be breaking down the 5 biggest risers in the final rankings for the 2024 recruiting class. Before we do that, I want to make sure to invite you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. Like this video, and like I said, subscribe to the Wolverine.com for $1 for 1 month. All right, let's get into the 5 biggest risers in the final 2024 rankings. And this is the On3 industry rankings. This combines the 4 major recruiting services, which is On3, 24/7, ESPN, and Rivals. All 4 services updated their rankings. So the industry rankings are final for 2024. So the biggest riser in Michigan's 2024 recruiting class is actually Josiah Edmond out of Northwood in Indiana, moving up 78 spots. Edmond has been one of the biggest risers in the class for the last several months. Remember, he was originally committed to Purdue, flipped to Michigan in the summer, really impressed the staff at one of their on-campus camps in June, and has just kind of blown up from a rankings perspective over the last several months. You know, he had a great senior season. The size is there at 6'1", 180. He has great length. He has great speed, athleticism. He checks a lot of boxes. He had a really strong performance at the Army All-American Bowl and the practices in San Antonio, Texas last month. I was there to witness it in action. And, you know, I think, again, Edmond has a chance to be an immediate impact player at Michigan, especially with the need for cornerback next year, someone opposite of Will Johnson. He can also, you know, get into the rotation. So a lot to like about Edmond. Now, he still is really raw from a technique standpoint. He does need some work on his footwork. And so it'll be more up to Steve Klingscale to really clean that up. But Edmond has, you know, a lot of what you're looking for in a corner that usually would succeed at a place like Michigan. All right, we're going to go over to the next guy on the list who has also been a late rankings riser, and that is edge prospect Lugert Adekpayi out of the DMV, moving up 60 spots. And a lot of that, you know, a lot of the rise here had to do with On3 making him the number 40 overall recruit in the country. He was just 8 spots away from being a 5-star on3, which is pretty wild. And you see his rankings are all over the place. On3 has him top 50. 24/7 has him top 175. ESPN has him top 300. Rivals has him as a low 4-star prospect. And the reason you're seeing all these rankings vary is because Adekpayi has arguably the highest ceiling in Michigan's class, but he also has a really low floor. This is a kid that didn't pick up his first Power 5 offer until October. He committed to Michigan on signing day in December. He's, you know, very impressive when you have a chance to see him in person. He's a legitimate 6'7", 215 pounds. The wingspan is insane. I mean, that length is really, really special. But he's also another guy that's really, really raw. Like I said, didn't pick up his first Power 5 offer until October. And, you know, big reason for that is, you know, he didn't make that jump until his senior year. He was a true late riser and a big mover in the rankings. Now, for me, I am a little scared of the floor. I think Adekpayi is a boom or bust. But if Michigan's able to maximize his talent, Adekpayi, you know, has a chance to be a day one NFL draft pick, but the floor is also scary as well. All right, we're going to move on to yet another consistent riser in the rankings and another guy on the defensive side of the ball. So, you know, Michigan going with guys that have a big ceiling but a low floor. And, you know, these guys have just really impressed with their athleticism and upside. And the next one on the list is Cole Sullivan, who's, you know, my personal top ranked defensive recruit in the class. Cole is a dynamic athlete, 6'3", about 210 pounds. He was originally recruited as more of a positionless defensive athlete, which Michigan, you know, kind of started a trend of doing that this cycle. he's a guy that can play as an inside backer. He can be a will. He can come off the edge. He even played some wide receiver at the high school level as well. So you see he moved up 42 spots. He's now in the top 300. And a big reason for his bump was On3 moving him up all the way to the number 112 overall recruit in the country. I agree with On3's ranking here. I think they have it exactly right. 24/7 and ESPN had him finishing the cycle as a 3-star prospect, which is terrible. I think they're really, really undervaluing Sullivan, who picked Michigan over Notre Dame in the spring. I think, again, he's my personal favorite on the defensive side of the ball in Michigan's 24 class. All right, next up on the list, we're going to go with another defensive player. And yeah, like I said, Michigan just, finding some really, really intriguing guys on the defensive side of the ball. And this one's Dominic Nichols, 4-star edge out of the DMV. And Nichols is one that I grew really close with during the cycle. He's a guy that, man, when you talk about rankings, right, you have a lot of kids all over the country complain about their rankings and make a fuss of it on social media. Dominic Nichols started off as a 4-star and then dropped down to a 3-star on3. And he dropped down to a 3-star on every single service. And he didn't complain about it. He put his head down and just worked, man. He got all the way up to 255 pounds and just didn't look good at that weight. He cut 20 pounds down to 235 and looked amazing as a senior. He set his school records for most sacks, most tackles for loss. He looked explosive and quick off the edge. There's a lot to like about Dominic Nichols. We talk about the upside of Lugard Adekpayi and Devin Baxter. I think Nichols has a really good mix of a high ceiling and a high floor. I think he's the safest take of the Michigan pass rushers. So, yeah, I think Dominic Nichols really deserved that bump on3. Now, he's still a 3-star prospect on the industry ranking, despite, the jump of 24 spots. But I think most of the services got it wrong here. I think On3 has it right, labeling him as a 4-star recruit. Still nice to see him get a nice overall bump. And the last recruit on the list is finally an offensive recruit, and that is offensive lineman Blake Frasier out of the great state of Texas. Frasier moved up 11 spots in this rankings update. Now the number 164 overall recruit in the country. Now, his ranking's a little interesting because you look at ESPN 24/7 and On3, they all have him outside of the top 200, while Rivals has him in the top 100. Now, I personally have Frasier a little bit in between that, ranked between the top 100 and, graded as a top 100 to 150 recruit. So sort of around the industry ranking, a little higher than that. I really like Frasier. He was the best offensive signee I saw in person from an in-game evaluation perspective. I mean, he was absolutely dominant in the trenches. He's a physical run blocker. He's very comfortable in pass pro. He's a guy that can work inside out, meaning that he can start off his career early on as a guard and eventually end up at tackle. I really like him as a right tackle. I think he's a guy that's going to be a multi-year starter at Michigan, a future team captain, and being a legacy, being the son of Steve Frasier. I think he's also a guy that just understands the culture at Michigan, what it means to be a Wolverine, and he's going to be a fantastic leader for the Michigan team down the line. He was a great leader for the recruiting class this cycle, keeping guys together and things of that nature and recruiting others. So big fan of Blake Frasier. Glad he got a minor bump here to close out the rankings. So you can see the full industry rankings over at On3. And for more analysis, head over to thewolverine.com for $1 for 1 month. Also like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for